So Jason, what's the main thing that you've learned so far at this point in your lifetime?
One of the main things I've learned in this season of my life is it's the art of being a better listener. And I'll break down for you what I've learned about that. It's something like this, that the Holy Spirit only speaks in real time, which is why I believe, Jesus said, but when they arrest you, do not worry about what to say or how to say it. At that time, you will be given what to say. And that has to do with a quote I heard, the past is depression, and the future is anxiety.
That was The Main Thing, timeless wisdom shared by our wise guests here on The Main Thing podcast. It resonated with us, perhaps rather deeply. You spoke up. You said, we want more from these wise thought leaders. We heard you loud and clear, and so we are reconnecting with a few of our most popular guests from seasons 1 and 2. We will revisit those guests and revisit their wisdom, their main thing. What will we find? Some say true north will always be true north. Others say there's nothing permanent except change. Has it remained the primary driving force in their life? Or has something new taken that place of prominence in their heart and mind? Here in this special episode of Wisdom Revisited, we'll find out how each prior guest has applied and perhaps evolved their wisdom. Here we go. Jason, welcome back to the Main Thing podcast. Great to have you back on with us again.
Skip, it's so good to be here with you. I love our conversations. I experience you as a generous person and a lover of wisdom, in spite of the fact that you seem to like talking with me. So,
oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And also, I should explain for anyone who's hearing this, I do have a speech handicap, so I'm a stutterer. So it's not because Skip's making me nervous, although he is very intimidating for sure.
Your main thing, which was undoubtedly popular, in fact, in April, 22 people have listened to your show, which was from season 1, so people are still finding it valuable. But back then, Jason, you told us this. You said your main thing was that we should listen not just to the words that a person's saying, but also listen for the interpreter of the person's heart, the Holy Spirit behind the words. And that was just such rich wisdom for me. It resonated with me and also expanded my thinking and expanded how I listen. Because let's face it, when someone tells us to be a better listener, usually it doesn't get much deeper than, hey, pay attention, listen closely, be focused. But you took us deeper than that, and I loved it. So thank you for that. And we're back today, Wisdom Revisited. This whole concept, Jason, is to check back in with you and say, is that still your main thing? Is that still kind of the north on your life compass, or has something new emerged? Check in with us on that.
Yeah, I would say that it's expanded beyond that and is nuanced a bit, like in terms of, the quote that we talked about the last time we spoke was from my mentor, who said, a bad listener listens to people's words. A good listener listens to the other person's heart behind their words. And a great listener listens to the interpreter of that person's heart, the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, there it is.
I think about how easy it is to be distracted by other people's words, right? We get hung up on the words a person is saying. It's so interesting to me that the very mode that we use to communicate with each other is also maybe the greatest obstacle, the greatest hindrance, right? Like I remember years ago, and I can't remember if we talked about this in the podcast, but I was having a conversation with my son, who would have been 18 at the time, and he just was casually dropping cuss words in our conversation, and I could feel something in me wanting to be distracted by that and to kind of fixate on that and take issue with him about that, rather than listening to, okay, what's really going on? Where's that language coming from? What's the heart behind that? There's some kind of aggression there. And aggression is usually there to hide hurt, to like it's a kind of armor, So what's underneath that, So it's okay. Anyway, to answer your question, I'm in terms of listening, the next piece of the puzzle that I'm working on, that I guess is the main thing now, is being curious about what are the obstacles to me being a good listener. What complicates good listening, and a part of that for me these days is if I'm healthy or not.
Okay.
And so the main thing for me right now is like, how can I be healthy? I remember talking with my mentor in the midst of my marriage breaking down, and me saying, man, I really want to heal my marriage. And he said, you can't do that, but what you can do is you can bring a healed man to your marriage.
Oh, wow.
And that just, began a journey of me, like, okay, so how do I get as healthy as I can be so I can bring a healthy man, a healed man to all my relationships? And a part of that is recognizing, like, one of the things that keeps me from being a healthy listener is my own trauma. For instance, an example is I'm in a relationship with a woman right now, and she's wonderful, but if she brings a mild criticism or a mild complaint to me, what can happen is it triggers me back into my experiences in my marriage, where I remember my mentor also helped me to understand that like every marriage has enough evidence in it for you to leave the marriage or for you to gratefully stay in the marriage. So it just depends on which evidence you choose to look at.
That's a real eye opener, isn't it? Wow.
Oh yeah. And then an interesting piece of that to me is that, we see the evidence that we've decided to see. And so the evidence that we're seeing can help us to understand that we've decided something, and that's why we're seeing things the way that we are. And we may not have out ourselves to realize that we've decided something,
So our heart feels it, but our head doesn't know it yet.
Yeah. If the person I'm with brings me a mild criticism, a mild complaint, it can trigger back into trauma from my marriage, where I can begin to think, oh, this person is beginning to gather evidence to leave me, and this is just the beginning of the landslide of being abandoned once again. Yeah. And until I can heal that trauma in me, I will respond disproportionately to a modest complaint,
Sure.
So I got to get that part of me healthy so I can actually listen to the person's complaint in a loving way,
Yeah. Being a healthy listener is sort of the next chapter of that wisdom lesson that you shared. I love it. Absolutely love it. One of my best friends said to me a few months ago, I think it was December, very candidly said, Skip, we need you to be healthy. We need you to get yourself well. Yeah. And, COVID took its toll on all of us. And I've been through some other stressors, and anxiety was really working on me. And I've been very open with the audience about, going for some counseling and doing other self-care measures. But I just really appreciated my friend having the courage to say, we need you to be well, buddy. Get yourself well. We're depending on you, and we want to see that and take the steps that you need. It was more than a pat on the back. It was kind of like a tough love kick in the butt in the forward direction. So I can so relate to what you brought to us today.
Yeah.
But Jason, I wanted to also just check in with you on what's been going on in the 27 months since you were last at the microphone with us here on the Main Thing podcast. It looks like you're working on songwriting, and a lot of times those look like collaborative efforts, which has to be just so much fun.
Yeah. I used to write by myself, and that, and I didn't like collaborating, and now it's flip-flopped. I only like collaborating now. Writing by myself feels lonely, and it takes longer, because I'm very unsure of myself. So like it's what I mean is like I'll write a verse, and is it any good? I hope so. I think so, but I'm not sure. But when you're in the room with somebody else, you get a read on if a line is working quicker. You know what I mean? Like
for sure.
You have immediate external feedback, and then also just when I write by myself, I kind of know what I'm going to get. Like, oh, of course I would go to the G chord there. Oh, of course I would use that language, But when you collaborate with somebody else, who knows what's going to happen, because it's the combination of two, personalities, and so I like not knowing what's going to happen, and that can, I like being surprised.
Yeah, it sounds like that collaboration just propels you forward like a tailwind.
Yeah, it does. It does, for sure.
Very cool.
Sometimes it's a long, painful experience of futility when the two of you don't connect personally or over an idea too. So that can happen too. But
I can imagine. So order, disorder, reorder, which I love.
Yeah.
What's coming next is another one in the works.
Yeah, I'm working on about 4 different potential albums right now. Like I could make
all at once.
One of 4 projects. Yeah, I mean, and
you've got 4 pots on the stove simmering, and
and whichever one starts to boil first is okay. We're going to go that direction.
I like it.
I'm writing about 3 to 4 days a week, so a lot of writing, and yeah.
Let's be honest, it's not easy to ask for help or talk about money. Hey, it's Skip here, and many listeners like you continue to ask me, what do you need to continue to develop and build this show? Well, for context, it takes our team about 15 hours of work to produce each one of these packages of wisdom that we deliver to you in podcast form. Really, what we need as we enter season 3 of this show is funding to cover our costs. So in response, I formed a site on the Patreon platform where you can elect to become a supporting patron of the Main Thing podcast. Now, there are 3 levels you might consider, ranging from $6 to $27 per month. It's all safe and secure, and you can explore the options at patreon.com/themainthingpodcast. Now, how will we use the funding? Funds provided by you and other patrons will be used to defray the costs of production, promotion, and our recurring technology expenses each month. In short, you will be helping to keep this pipeline of wisdom flowing. Thanks. You're doing a lot of touring. Where are you headed next?
Yeah.
And as you answer that question and kind of wrap up on how much fun are you having with your music career today versus times in the past?
Good question. Wow. There is, I in some ways, the shows I've done the past 2 years have been the most meaningful I've ever gotten to have.
Wow.
Very fulfilling. smaller,
Yeah.
I was able to stay working during the pandemic because a lot of fans, we opened it up to, where, okay, we can't play in venues because of the mandates, but I can come play in your backyard, and that brought a lot of the super fans out of the woodwork who were like, yeah, we love what you do, and we want to host you at our house, and that meant that, for the past 2 years, I've mostly been doing concerts for people who resonate with what I do, and that has made it easier for us to go deeper, and that's been so rewarding, but has also put in contrast, the commercial aspect of things,
Sure.
In order to have a song hit on the radio, or to pack out big spaces a lot. I don't mean to be negative about this, but really what that's about is lowest common denominator,
Okay.
like,
Okay.
like it's like McDonald's, who has the most successful cheeseburger in the world? McDonald's. Is it because it's
Right.
the most compelling cheeseburger? No, it's a good cheeseburger, but it's pretty basic. The best cheeseburger
Right.
is at this little place about half mile from my house called Subculture. It seats 15 people at a time, and it is a life change. Right? But
wow.
but it's never going to have the billions sold. So music
Right.
is kind of like that. Biggest songs are they're good songs. They're just lowest common denominator songs, and there isn't anything wrong with that. But I just mean, where I'm at now, I've been enjoying being able to go to a deeper place than commerciality would normally bear.
Jason, as we wrap up, I just want to ask you, kind of give you open mic. Is there anything else that's on your heart that you want to share with my audience of wisdom seekers? Anything else that you hoped I would ask you about today that I didn't cover?
Yeah. The thing that I'm most interested in right now, and see everywhere I look, is this idea of self-righteousness, also known as confirmation bias, and the hypothesis that I'm working on right now is that I think self-righteousness might be the sin underneath every other sin, and maybe underneath self-righteousness is fear. It is painful to be wrong, to be mistaken, and it can also be deadly. When you're mistaken, you can be booted out of your community that you're a part of. You can make errors.
Canceled.
Yes, exactly. So we're highly invested in being right. In fact, I think you and I think we're right. If we didn't think we were right, we would act or believe something differently. And thinking that I'm right, that's kind of the basis of self-righteousness.
Yeah.
What do we do about that? As I'm writing new songs, I'm noticing that in my genre, the songs that really connect with people are statements that of affirming what I believe. When I think about creedal kind of songs, like creeds, I believe this, I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
there is a strength and an empowerment that we experience when we proclaim what we believe. So I don't have any contempt for that. I think that's good.
Okay.
I understand why it's good. But when I'm proclaiming what I believe, there's not a lot of curiosity in that moment. There's not a lot of reflection. I'm not in discovery mode. I'm not in learning mode.
Okay.
It could be argued that there's a piece of that where I'm kind of in self-righteousness mode. I believe this. This is what I believe. This is where I'm right. This is where I believe the right thing. Where I'm aligned with the right thing. Again, there isn't anything wrong with that, but there's a quote I love by a guy named Jordan Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "You can either love what you know or you can love what you don't know. And there's a lot more that we don't know. So be careful what you fall in love with, And how can I become a person who loves what I don't know? Which means how can I stay in discovery mode and learning mode, so that I can be updated, so that I'm not just stating what I believe and fixated on the things that I already understand, but that I'm open to being updated constantly, So
Oh yeah,
that's where my mind is at.
I love it
these days.
I'll be watching to see how that shows up in new songs and in your book, and I'll be cheering for you and cheering you along and rooting for you and here to help and encourage in every way possible.
Thank you, Skip.
Well, thank you for coming back and revisiting your wisdom with us today, and for sharing your heart so openly as you always do, and inspiring us in that. Thank you, Jason.
Always a pleasure to get to speak with you. Thank you so much, Skip.
Wow, 9 minutes is up. That goes by incredibly fast, doesn't it? Time flies when you're hacking wisdom. I hope you're left wanting more. Sync up with us again next time on The Main Thing for 9 more minutes of wisdom.